Jackpot. Your boy Ryan Coogler has hit the jackpot on his latest film, Sinners, which we're going to go through this complex article. And me being a 10-year intellectual property attorney, I'm going to underscore the importance of copyright, particularly as it relates to films. Again, as I said before, for those of you who don't know, I am a 10-year IP attorney dealing with everything from patents, trademarks, trade secrets, as well as copyrights. And man, I got a good one for you guys today. So some housekeeping items first. Please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm, as well as hit that subscribe button to be a part of the IP community where we talk everything intellectual property. I actually just got done doing an interview from a Shark Tank company that's going to be out in about a month or so. So we do a little bit of everything. We talk about these current events. We do interviews of kind of people who created a product, sold the product. Many of those companies have been on Shark Tank. I do a live breakdown going through a lawsuit, which is live on Sunday, every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, so, definitely hit that subscribe button. I'm pretty sure it'll be something that you can get down with on the channel. So let me kind of back up here, because if you guys remember when Bad Boys 4, I think Ride or Die, whatever it was, it came out maybe months ago, maybe even going back until last 2024, the gentleman who had wrote it and gave it to the essentially sold it. I don't want to say gave it, but sold it to whatever studios he sold it to. He should probably take a page out of Ryan Coogler's book, because again, they have gone on to make 4 Bad Boys movies, and that studios, I forget who owns it, has made billions of dollars off that franchise. And again, he was actually complaining about what Bad Boys 4, the right should have went back to him, and therefore, they owed him all this money, and they end up settling, which I'm pretty sure he still got millions in that case. But in Ryan Coogler's case, after 25 years, I think it's in the article we get off into, after 25 years, the copyright of the movie goes back to him, such that he is the owner. And that is huge, I can tell you from an IP attorney, just because again, you can have with the sequels of the movies, Sinners 2, Sinners 3, you can come out with a TV show that's based on the movie, which again, those do typically well. You can have clothing and stuff like that. You can have this kind of ecosystem of the Sinners universe, which Ryan Coogler will ultimately own at that point in time. And again, copyright has a long lasting life, or a long shelf life. It lasts for the life of the author plus 70 years. So this thing can last for Ryan Coogler's life, and then it can last another 70 years after he is kind of long gone, which again, when he talking about kids and grandkids, they can still make money off this thing. So this is the importance of what he was able to negotiate. Typically what you have here is, like I said, I think the gentleman was George, I forget his last name, from who wrote the Bad Boys and sold it to the studios. Typically what you have is somebody create a movie and they actually sell it to the studios. And that's pretty much the end of it. They got their money. The studios owns the copyright, as well as the opportunity to make a ton of money because they own a copyright. And that's that. Now, it is a clawback provision, and you see a lot of musicians use this clawback provision. I think Ashanti have used it. Somebody else has used it, where after 35 years, to the extent that you are the copyright owner and you assign or license your music to, or essentially, give your music away to a studio, you have the right to essentially, get that back 35 years later. I think Jay-Z, that was the whole thing with him trying to block Dame Dash from getting Reasonable Doubt, because he's telling people like, hey, in 35 years, which I think is like 2030, it's just going to go back to me anyway. So even if you pay millions of dollars, you're doing that and it's going to go back to me anyway. But it seems like in this case, that's not the case, just kind of how they structured it. But Ryan Coogler was able to negotiate the fact that after 25 years, the copyright is owned by him and kind of whatever business he has it in. So let's kind of read this article really quickly, and then I'll get you guys up out of here. So Ryan Coogler explains the motivation behind securing the rights to Sinners. It seems like what they had, I haven't seen a movie. I guess it was on vampires, they said. And I mean, I've heard a lot of people said it was good. And I think it did almost 50 million at the opening day at the box office. So kudos to him. This article is from a couple of days ago at Complex, April 20th. Today is the 23rd. It says the filmmaker joins a small pool of directors, including Quentin Tarantino and George Lucas, who have successfully negotiated ownership of their works, ownership of their copyrights. Ryan Coogler explained the personal motivation behind securing the ownership rights of his new film, Sinners. The film set in the Jim Crow era South. It seemed like him and Michael B. Jordan, man, they got a nice little relationship, a nice thing going. Obviously, Black Panther which is one of the movies that Ryan Coogler did. Obviously, we know Michael B. Jordan was in that. Then Creed, that Creed franchise, Michael B. Jordan was in that. So it seems like Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan got a nice thing going. And it seemed like it was a bidding war between multiple studios for the film Sinners. According to Puck News, Coogler requested first dollar gross points, final cut, and ownership of the film 25 years after its release, to which Warner Brothers agreed. So it seems like Warner Brothers was a studio that did a deal with him and essentially said, hey, 25 years, the copyright, the ownership in the IP is going to go back to Ryan Coogler and his essentially business or estate, whatever you want to put it, which I think is huge. Let's see here. In a new interview with Business Insider, the 38-year-old filmmaker, whose past films include the Black Panther and Creed, said that the move was less of a strategic power play, given his billion-dollar box office track record, and more about personal symbolism. Now, again, I think that's a good point, because if he didn't have Black Panther and Creed under his belt, do you think he would have been able to negotiate that? Maybe not, but hey, he does have those under his belts, and hey, they got to pay him accordingly. Again, man, the copyright is always going to be better than getting maybe a couple $1 million in the front end. Let me say that again, and let me actually share my screen. If the studio was willing to pay you $10 million extra to own a copyright, the copyright is still more important, in my opinion, as IP attorney, than those few $1 million on the front end, just because, like I said, it's a long shelf life on the copyrights. It lasts for the life of the author, plus an additional 70 years. Just think of how much money Walt Disney made with Mickey Mouse and owning the copyright to the Steamboat Willie. Steamboat Willie, man, he's made billions of dollars. So these couple millions that they are, like, a lot of times try to throw you on the front end, it pales in comparison than what they're going to make off the copyright. And again, you just even think some of the shows that I grew up with in the 90s are still being shown on TV. And you know what? Somebody's getting paid for owning that copyright. So that's when you have to think, that's what you have to be thinking when you're thinking a copyright ownership and just kind of the long-term play of it all. So let's get back to the thing. I guess that's what he told BI. He also shared that the inspiration of Sinners came from his grandfather, whom he never met, and his uncle James, who passed away 10 years ago. My Uncle James loved to do three things: listen to Delta blues music. My mom likes blues music. He loved drinking all types of whiskey. Seems like he's from definitely the South Tennessee area. And he loved the San Francisco Giants, watching them on TV and listening to them on the radio, Coogler said. So if you went and spent time with him, he was doing one or all three of those things. The act of listening to that music and feeling he was there with me is kind of what inspired the period setting in the blues, and that is why the movie is so personal. Sinners will be the first feature film Coogler owns, but he ruled out owning future works. No, it was this specific project, he said. So it seems like this project was near and dear to him for being able to own, and this is not something that he is going to be trying to strong arm the studios for going forward, it seems like. Reports on Coogler's ownership deal apparently left some competing studios freaking out, with one exec telling Vulture the Sinners deal sets a very dangerous precedent that could be the end of the studio system. In 2017, Quentin Tarantino chose Sony over Warner Brothers to produce Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, when Sony agreed to his rare demand for eventual copyright ownership after 30 years, according to a 2019 report from The Hollywood Reporter. Some sources suggest the deal reverts ownership back to Tarantino within 10 to 20 years. So it seems like I said, only a small pool of directors is getting this. George Lucas and Richard Linklater have successfully negotiated ownership stakes in their films. So, and look, again, just from how I read that, seems like, number one, this particular film, Sinners, was near and dear to Ryan Coogler, and therefore it doesn't seem like he's going to be trying to do this going forward indefinitely. But it seems like this is not anything that's new necessarily. George Lucas, obviously, him and Richard, seems like they are Quentin Tarantino. Those are obviously non-black actors, so it's big for a black actor to own his copyright or being able to negotiate that with the studios. I already know, Tyler Perry owns all this IP, and that's why he's kind of killing it or crushing it. But again, studios typically don't like this. Obviously, one exec said that this is very, very dangerous precedent for the studios. I think back of that kind of Jordan situation where he started to get the royalty of the shoe, and everybody was up in arms thinking that was going to kind of change how that industry operated. Obviously, it changed a little bit, but the industry is still intact. At the end of the day, man, you got to do what's best for you and people will adjust. It seemed like I said, George Lucas, Quentin Tarantino, Richard, they all did it, and the studios are still in play. I would imagine that whoever this exec is, man, he's trying to kind of uphold the traditional system, but we all know, hey, change is inevitable. So shouts out to Ryan Coogler on being able to own his copyright. I had to bring this to you, man. I'm hearing a lot about Sinners. They said it was a great movie, so I had to check it out myself. They were saying that obviously it did well in the box office that first week, opening weekend, almost $50 million, which is shouts out to that. And the fact that he was able to own his copyrights, hey, man, you get a bravo from me. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. To the extent that you went to go see it, let me know if you liked the movie. I saw somebody that said they went to go see it 3 times. You're talking about dedication to really liking a movie. Again, I just want to bring you guys everything intellectual property and the importance of the IP, because I think this guy, Ryan Coogler, it seems like he, like I said, had more of a personal affection for this particular movie. But I can tell you that he's going to make millions of dollars going forward, especially when the film reverts back to him. And the fact that this is something that he can kind of pass off to his kids or his grandkids. Again, what more can you ask for? So kudos to Ryan Coogler. Kudos to Michael B. Jordan. It seems like that is a dynamic duo. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Please leave a comment in the comment section. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.